You know, the goal here was to craft the greatest breakfast sandwich of all time. I don't want to say we did it, but it's hard to say whether or not this is definitively the best breakfast sandwich because there's so many different opinions on what it should and shouldn't have, and it also depends on the mood, right? Maybe you want a fried egg that's runny sometimes, maybe you don't. But to me, this is a beautifully well-rounded sandwich that hits every single note you could possibly desire. Smooth, velvety eggs, an ultra crispy crunch, salty savoriness, fattiness, richness, a little bit of cheesiness, and a beautiful soft bun to encase it all. It is a complete holistic breakfast that is perfect in nature in between two buns. So that being said, let's make this, shall we? We're gonna start by making arguably the greatest scrambled egg ever. Then we'll make a ultra crunchy hash brown, make a beautiful sauce, sear our protein, and then we assemble. Scrambled egg. That's not what we're making. We're making a steamed egg. Ew, yucky, no. Listen, you could make a scrambled egg for this part, that's fine. But my whole thought was like, what is something that you can make en masse relatively easily that is like God tier for every piece of egg? And my idea was, well, steamed egg, and then you just slice it and serve it. To me, simpler, right? And you could do large volume of that, whatever. But if you want to scramble eggs in a pan and slop them on, you can do that too. No disrespect, nothing wrong with that. That said, you're gonna need 8 total medium to large eggs. And if you are scrambling them, you can skip what I'm about to show you. I mean, you're gonna have to whisk them, but let's just crack them all. How about that? So crack all your eggs into a container. In this case, I have a quart container here. And then you're gonna add exactly 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and a 1/4 cup of whole milk. Now, this is optional, but you will need to do this if you do the steamed egg. I would recommend that you take an immersion blender and just an immersion blend everything together. You can whisk it if you want. That's totally fine. And if you're scrambling them, you definitely can whisk it. But I would recommend the immersion blender because it avoids any egg white whatsoever not being emulsified in there. Now, the second thing, you're then going to spray an 8x8 baking pan with cooking spray. And then this part is completely optional. You don't have to do this at all. Is pour your egg through a fine mesh strainer. I'm getting fancy on you here, okay? Not a necessity whatsoever. This is purely an aesthetics choice. It does not really change the final product that much because you use the immersion blender. But if you want really uniform looking steamed eggs, you gotta do it. Now, that goes into a 9x13 pan like so. Next, you're gonna take boiling water. Do not touch the eggs with this. You're gonna pour the boiling water into the basin that you have your eggs set in. So it's not going into the 8x8, but it's going into the 9x13. You're gonna pour this just up to the line so the water kind of meets the same line as your eggs. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if it's a little over. You're gonna lightly tent this with foil and place this into an oven set to 300 Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes. And then you'll notice when you pull this bad boy out, you take this little thing off. Look at that, dude. That's a puck of egg. This is like that fucking Starbucks sous vide egg, but way better. You're gonna wanna take this out of the water as soon as possible because the water will continue to cook it. All right, the egg is done. It's cooled a little bit. I'm gonna flip it out onto a board really quickly. 1, 2, 3. It's loud, and lift it up. You have a beautiful, look at that. This egg is so tender, it's ridiculous. So first thing I'm gonna do is just lightly trim the edges. If there's any dried egg sitting there, just cut that off. Make it look a little cleaner. Doesn't really change the taste, 100% an aesthetic thing. All right, and then very simply, this is the perfect dimensions to cut into perfect quarters. You quarter this, you got 4 sandwiches worth of eggs. So do our best to cut this in half, this direction. I mean, look at this, dude. Perfect egg. Insane. I'll take this. We're gonna cut this in half as well. Very nice. We have our egg patties, perfect and ready. The silkiest little egg you've ever seen. Look at that. I'm gonna do that again with the other one. So silky, so smooth. It almost feels like it's like engineered, but really, it's just science. Now, I know that seems like a long time, 25 to 30 minutes for scrambled eggs, really, Josh? But you got all sorts of other stuff to prep, so it's kind of perfect because while that's going, you can prep everything else. So while that's running, we have 1.5 pounds of russet potatoes. You're gonna quickly peel all those. We're gonna make the most ridiculous, like the greatest, and I really mean this, little hash brown puck that's gonna go on this sandwich. But the hash brown itself is so good, you could just eat this by itself. Now, you can either throw these away or you can recycle them. That's where today's sponsor, Mill, comes in. Mill is an odorless, effortless, fully automated food recycler. You just drop in your peels, scraps, or leftovers and forget about it. It dries and grinds everything into nutrient-rich grounds while you sleep. Intelligent sensors know how much you add and for how long to run for. Instead of sending your food all the way to waste in a landfill, you can actually use those grounds, or you can have Mill send it back to farms. Recycling. So don't forget to check out Mill in the link below. Once that's done, box grater on the coarse grate side, you're gonna grate your potato, then place these in a tea towel and you wrap that up, take it to the sink and you squeeze the hell out of it. You'll notice there's a load of water in this. It's a very good idea to get some of this water out. Squeeze as much of it out as you can. The more the merrier. Once that's wrung out, to the stove. All right, we have a medium large sauce pot. To that, you're gonna add your potatoes. Ice cold pan, ain't nothing in there. No oil, no nothing, because we're going to lightly poach these in fat. Now, what fat should that be? Whatever you cook this in, it's going to saturate the potatoes quite a bit. So pick something that tastes good and pick something that's maybe like not vegetable oil, like butter, duck fat, pork fat, bacon fat, beef fat, chicken fat. Whatever animal you want it to be. So you're gonna need about 2 cups of that. This is duck fat, because hell yeah. I didn't say this was the easiest breakfast sandwich ever. I said this was the best, okay? Anyways, set that to medium heat, mix that together. It's gonna look really gross at first, like surprisingly gross. And just let that melt. We're not trying to get any color on this whatsoever. We just wanna lightly cook the potato, and you're gonna let that gently bubble, stirring very gently every so often for about 5 minutes. Just until your potatoes are almost cooked all the way through. So they should still have a little bit of crunch left in them, but they're about 80% of the way there. All right, so these are just barely cooked. You can always take a little piece out and taste it. It's still got a little crunch, but I can also tell it started to congeal, it started to cook. It's got that waxy texture I'm looking for. And if you're cooking that on low heat, that'll take about 10 or so minutes. Now, take this over to a bowl and pour it through a fine mesh strainer into a bowl, just to strain out that excess fat. All right. You're gonna dump the potato into a separate bowl. This oil you can save and use again, so don't throw this away. Put this in a container, refrigerate it, keep it, cook in it, enjoy it. Now, this part's pretty simple. First, you kind of spread it out, and you're gonna hit it with kosher salt to taste. This is your moment to basically season this all the way, so you don't have to season it when you fry this. So mix it up and give it a taste. If it needs more salt, guess what? Add it, buddy. And then just repeat that until it's seasoned to your liking, and then we're ready for the next step. You're gonna add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. First, I'll add a tablespoon just by itself. And you're gonna mix that together so that it gets evenly distributed, followed by the second tablespoon. Basically, you're wanting this to be able to bind together in a way that you can form this into patties. If it feels like, oh, it's not quite binding enough, just add a teaspoon of cornstarch at a time after you've added the 2 tablespoons as needed. But it should start to congeal once you add that second tablespoon. Yeah, that's looking pretty congealed. I'm happy with that. Now we can form our hash brown. So you're gonna kind of eyeball this and divide these into 4. So I'll shape it into a little ball, bang, right? Take a 4th, shape it into a ball, bang. 4th, shape it into a little juicy ball, bang. And then our last quarter, ball, bang. Now you don't have to use ring molds. I'm just using ring molds to make them perfectly. Look, you can very easily just flatten into a pancake and look, done. See, that easy. You don't have to put it in a ring mold. But I'm gonna put them in a ring mold just so that they're perfectly round. And these are 4-inch ring molds, which are roughly the same size of a typical burger bun or brioche bun. So if you were gonna use ring molds, that's the size you wanna use, pal. You're just gonna flatten those out in the ring mold until they're compressed and evenly shaped and sized. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want them relatively even so that they cook evenly. Now, remove your ring molds, and look at that. Again, like if you want a more rustic look, you can make it more rustic. You're gonna let these finish cooling so that they congeal. Ideally, you'll set them in the fridge for a couple hours to cool off and get nice and puck hard, or leave them in the freezer until you're ready to use them. This is something you can make days, weeks, months ahead of time if you freeze these. And you could make 20 of them if you wanted to. This only makes 4, but you double, triple this. You see what I'm saying here? This could be your breakfast by itself. So when it comes time to fry, you have about 2.5 quarts to 3 quarts of canola, vegetable oil, whatever. It could be more duck fat or animal fat in a heavy bottomed pot, heated to 350 Fahrenheit. You drop in a puck. You can fit up to 3 in this at a time. I'm doing 1 just to show it. You're gonna let that cook in the oil for about 3 to 4 minutes. Once that's GBD, golden brown delicious, remove and set on a paper towel over a wire rack. Once it's drained, you can then let it continue to sit to cool. Do not season it with salt again. It should already be fully seasoned at this point. You gotta have a sauce on a sandwich. So we have a 1/2 cup of Kewpie mayonnaise. We're already making enough stuff today. I'm not gonna make you make your own mayo, but you could if you wanted to. I actually think Kewpie goes best in this. I like the texture of it. I also like the flavor of it, and I like the appearance of it in this sandwich. Next, you're gonna follow that with 1 tablespoon of ketchup. Hear me out. I'm not a ketchup on eggs kind of guy, but it works with this sauce. Followed by 2.5 teaspoons of gochujang, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of cayenne powder. Yes, it's spicy. And 1 clove of garlic grated. Touch of salt. Touch of black pepper, And then just give that a nice whisk until thoroughly combined and homogeneous. And you're left with a beautiful sort of reddish orange mayo, slightly sweet, slightly spicy, creamy, garlicky. A little of this goes a long way. Now, you're gonna need thinly sliced mortadella for this section. It could be pistachio mortadella, black pepper mortadella, a mix of the two, or just plain mortadella, but it must be very thin, like paper thin, so it folds nicely. We're gonna do this the Bourdain style, like the, mustard mortadella sandwich. Medium heat, non-stick skillet, and you just lay in, and this is per sandwich, you just lay in as many slices as you want. You can do 3, you can do 5, maybe don't overdo past like 6 to 7. Stop! No more! We're not doing any more 6, 7 memes. Because now every time a fully grown adult that I know says, oh, I think we need 6 to 7 of them, and then my brain is like fucking rotted, dude. All I think about is the 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. And now I don't even remember what we were talking about anymore. I don't even know where I am. Anyway, once that's seared for about 2 minutes or so, it will sear quickly. You're gonna flip it, and you want a light little browning, not too much. You don't wanna dry this out. Just a light little browning, and it's just kind of saturated in its own melty hot fat. Sear that for another minute, medium high, and then when it's done, cut off the heat, and you can assemble your sandwich. Obviously, I'm doing this with 1, but if you're making 4 sandwiches like this recipe makes, you would then do 1, 2, 3, 4 in a pan, and then flip them all. You can do them all in one large 12-inch skillet. Keep that in mind. To toast your buns, you can do 1 of 2 ways. You can do it in a toaster if they fit in your toaster, but my favorite way would be to melt a little bit of butter in a nonstick skillet over medium heat until it's melted and bubbling. Lay in your buns cut side down and toast, moving the buns around constantly for about 1 to 2 minutes or until evenly toasted on both sides. Repeat that with all your buns. Now we're going to assemble. So you're gonna lay down your toasted bottom bun, spread a beautiful layer of your mayo, top with your crispy hash brown, followed by your seared mortadella, your silky egg, and a slice of American cheese. Now mayo your toasted top bun and crown your king. I don't even know where to attack. I'm gonna go right here. This is the best breakfast sandwich I've ever had, bar none. The egg is like the texture of the most perfect, silky little scrambled egg you've ever had. It's almost borderline like silken tofu, but not quite as delicate. It still has that sort of scrambled egg bounciness to it, but not in a rubbery way. It's a tight, compact little, just velvety egg. The crunch and the flavor from the potatoes. It's like the hash brown flavor, but the crunch of like a fine dining croquette. The meat, salted perfectly. The oil from the mortadella just enrobes all the other flavors. And then of course the American cheese, bringing in that classic American breakfast sandwich flavor. And then the sauce is a symphony of flavor without distracting. It adds richness, it adds sweetness, it adds a little bit of spiciness, but it doesn't distract. Instead, it completes the circle. Guys, this might be the greatest breakfast sandwich of all time, and I'm not saying that just out my ass. I really mean that. I'm blown away by this. A huge thank you again to Mill for sponsoring today's video. There were tons of ingredients you wouldn't even think that we used today that could be recycled. Potato peels, eggshells, mortadella scraps. I mean, the list goes on and on, but think about how much that you end up throwing away. Even the things that you can't eat can still be put to good use. Instead of filling up landfills with food that we either don't or can't eat, we're now actually using it to nourish the planet. I couldn't think of an easier way to make an eco-friendly impact. And I love that you don't need to worry about constantly emptying it out because it can hold so much volume. So be sure to check out Mill in the link in the description, as well as today's recipe. Love you, subscribe, bye.